So what is going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be talking about Samantha's role in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. What is she doing in this universe? Was that her we saw in the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies ending cutscene? The last time we saw her was in Cold War Zombies, which took place in the 80s. Modern Warfare 3 takes place between 2019 and 2023. So a long time after, and the last time we saw Samantha, she was trapped in the Dark Aether, and because time in the Dark Aether works different to reality, it is longer. For example, 3 weeks in our world could equate to 3 months in the Dark Aether, along with all of these side effects that come along with it. So if this is Samantha Maxis that we saw in the ending cutscene, what does that mean for the storyline? Is she evil now, or is she good in quotation marks? There are so many different questions, so let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the possibilities that we could see in the future for this story. Anyway, in the ending cutscene for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, we see AETHER, or Dr. Jansen, turns off the ether neutralizer. As she's doing that, electricity beams from her hands. The ether neutralizer then explodes and a rift appears in the sky. AETHER then gets sucked towards it, and in front of her, an entity comes out and says to AETHER, "Let us in." Before she screams, the rift closes and AETHER drops to the ground. She then opens her eyes and they are purple. But the big question that everybody's asking is, well, who is this entity? The main suspect being Samantha Maxis, and there are a few reasons for that. If we go back to the end of Cold War Zombies, the last time that we saw Samantha, in the ending for the map Forsaken, she was battling against the Forsaken, which, if you don't know, was, if I had to describe him, the leader of every creature that resided in the Dark Aether. So the Mimics, the Manglers, the Disciples, the Zombies, etc. The Forsaken, because of his ranking in the Dark Aether, all of these creatures were his army. But that changed when he was defeated. Samantha battled against him. We could see her here flying. She has a purple glowing eyes, shooting kind of ethereum crystals from her hands. And in order to rid the Forsaken, she flies into him, in which he is then contained inside of this device, in turn also trapping Samantha within the Dark Aether. So that was the last time we saw Samantha in Cold War. She sacrificed herself to defeat the Forsaken. We then had Vanguard Zombies, which was a prequel, so we heard nothing about it. And we now have Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, which takes place 40 years after, but that doesn't mean it's been 40 years for Samantha. So coming back to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, the obvious person that comes to your mind when you see this entity coming out of this portal is Samantha. And if you just look at it, it does look like it might be a female. It almost looks like they're wearing a dress, and when they say "let us in," the voice sounds a little bit feminine. It could just be me.
What happened?
Do you not remember?
No. I thought I heard a voice. Something calling from the other side.
But 99% of people would say this looks like it might be Samantha. It could be someone else, but I don't know who that would be. I don't think it would be a character that we know. So if it isn't Samantha, it's probably a new character. I suppose, and I'm just throwing this one out there, could this be one of the transit characters? Because at the end of Black Ops 4, they became trapped in the Dark Aether. While I think it's unlikely, I don't think it's impossible. I can't see Treyarch doing that story-wise, but Russman, Stuhlinger, Malton, and Misty did become trapped in the Dark Aether. I'll just leave that one hanging, but to be honest, I think this is either Samantha or a completely new character. But let's just say this is Samantha. When she says, "let us in," I'm not gonna lie, kind of sounds like something some evil person would say, but Samantha isn't evil, right? If she sacrificed herself to get rid of the Forsaken, we saw her all throughout Cold War. She was doing good deeds, granted slightly mischievous, but we know she's a good person, and we also know that because when she was a child, there wasn't really any point in time where she became corrupted, in a sense. She has been infected by the Dark Aether since her childhood. In Alpha Omega, we saw her use her powers to slice an apothecary in half and destroy Nuketown. The interesting thing about that is, when Samantha was a child a little bit later on in life, her innocence was supposed to have been restored by Dr. Monty, unlike the child version of Eddie, who ever since we saw him was an innocent version of himself, because his soul was taken as a child and then given to Dr. Monty, where he placed him in the house, so child Richtofen never got a chance to become corrupted, but Samantha was. during World at War and Black Ops 1 and BO2, she was infected by the Dark Aether, hence why she did all of the evil things we saw her do, the main one being she was in control of the zombies. But in the buried ending, when she travelled from that universe to the new one, Dimension 63, and reunited with her father in the house, it was at that point that Dr. Monty took her away. We don't know where, but he restored her innocence, which you would think would also mean her powers would no longer exist, but we saw in Alpha Omega they still did. She may not have been corrupted by the Dark Aether anymore, she wasn't the evil child that we knew earlier on, but it seems like after her innocence was restored, she kept her Dark Aether powers. But she was good, and she was still good the last time we saw her in Black Ops 4. At the end of Tag the Totem, when she travelled from that universe to Cold Wars, Samantha was a innocent child. But one thing we know is, since then, Samantha did get trapped in the Dark Aether again, and the Dark Aether does change people. It corrupts them. It corrodes their minds. As I mentioned earlier on, time in the Dark Aether works differently. Now, I don't know the exact conversion. I'm pretty sure we've been told it once in the storyline. I'm just going off memory, so I could be totally wrong here, but in that map, Samantha was trapped in the Dark Aether for about 3 weeks. Now, taking that into consideration, if she became trapped once again in the Dark Aether in Cold War in the 80s, and Modern Warfare 3 is now in 2021, 2022, 40 years later, what would that equate to in Dark Aether years? I have no idea. The other thing is though, yes, even though I think she was a good person the last time we saw her, one of the side effects of the Dark Aether is that it corrupts you. It turns and changes your mind. Samantha already had powers, so that's not a worry, but just how Richtofen turned evil when he was corrupted by the Dark Aether, has that now happened to Samantha? When she says, "Let us in," that might be something that she would say if she was corrupted. The next question then is, well, who is she referring to when she says, "Us? Let us in"? An idea that I had is, well, we saw Samantha defeated the Forsaken. He was essentially the leader in the Dark Aether, but once he was defeated, someone had to take his place. And Samantha, already being as powerful as she was before she entered the Dark Aether, after going there, did she then become the highest ranking entity within the Dark Aether, which would automatically give her the rank of leader of the Dark Aether creatures, ruling over the undead and anything else in there. So when Samantha says, "Let us in," is she referring to her and her Dark Aether minions? She could also just be referring to herself when she says, "Let us in," but that is an interesting point that I've actually just gone back to double check here on the time difference in the Dark Aether, and it was actually in Alpha Omega when Samantha got detained and returned back to Requiem HQ. Requiem said she spent about 48 hours in the Dark Aether, but psychological and metabolic tests that they did on her indicated that she spent several months in there. So that just shows you the time difference and how the Dark Aether affects you in such a short amount of time, which means you can't really begin to comprehend what would happen if you were in there for 40 years. If this is what just 2 days in the Dark Aether did to her, imagine what 40 years would do. So really, when you see this, it's not surprising that this might be Samantha. Just kind of breaking the immersion here for a second, I also do want to say Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is a sequel to next year's game, Black Ops 5 or whatever Treyarch decide to call it. From everything that we understand, that's going to be taking place during the 90s, whereas MW3 Zombies is in and around 2021, 2022. So because this is a sequel, it's kind of hard for me to believe that in next year's game, Samantha will be trapped within the Dark Aether for its entirety. She's not going to end up escaping, unless she does and then gets sent back there once again. There were a lot of interactions between Richtofen and Samantha in Cold War. Richtofen said to Samantha that she'd find out who he was soon enough. There was just quite a few things that went on that would make me think we'd see more interactions between Richtofen and Samantha in Treyarch's next game. But if she's still trapped in the Dark Aether in Modern Warfare 3, then surely Richtofen won't have a chance to confront her again in next year's game. So it's going to be interesting to see how Treyarch handle all of that. But just getting back to the cutscene, when Samantha says, "Let us in," Ava then screams. She falls to the ground. Samantha then goes back into the rift and Ava opens her eyes and we see they are purple. So clearly Ava did let Samantha in because she's now got the same eye colour that Samantha has. Is Samantha within Ava? That wouldn't be out of the ordinary to me. We've seen similar things happen in Zombies before. Richtofen and Samantha literally switched bodies in Black Ops 1 Moon. So has Samantha somehow transferred her soul into Ava? Ava does speak after, so it's still her voice. So clearly she's still here somewhat. But has Samantha got inside of Ava? When she screams and falls to the ground and then opens her eyes to show that she has Samantha's eyes, could be a clue of that. and the further on we progress into the story, the more we might see she starts to act weird, or act more similar to what Samantha would. That is, of course, if this even is Samantha. It could be someone totally different, but there's a chance. So I'll leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully if I enjoyed the video, if you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.